our senior admin looked at me and just goes, "Hey, Nick, like God's going to use this in powerful ways, and you may not see it, but he's going to use this in powerful ways in your life and in the life of our church." And I looked at her, and I will never forget, I looked at her and go, "I don't want to be that guy." I was like, I don't want to be that person. I never wanted this.
I don't want to be that testimony.
Yeah. I'm like, if I could rewind time, I would ask God to take this away from me.
Mm-hmm.
And I will never forget when they announced it to our church. I was sitting in a pew when my senior pastor announced it, and that sucked.
So what's the emotion? Embarrassment, humiliation?
Oh, yeah.
The above?
I mean, all the above,
else?
like fear.
Yeah. Fear's a good one.
Sadness.
Right?
Sadness that I got into that place. Like failure.
Yeah.
Failure was a big one. Like, again, like pastors don't struggle with this, right? The lie that I was believing. And I remember after that service, people just came up and hugged me. Most people didn't know what to say. And I just remember, like, after that, I ended up taking a 3-month leave of absence from the church. And
now, if I'm correct, you were able, I hope I'm correct, you were able to take a paid 3-month leave of absence.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. Which was, from talking with other people, other pastors specifically who struggle with this, that is not the norm.
No, I wouldn't think so.
My leadership team at the church, and my senior pastor, George, he would say this often: we are not a perfect church, not at all. We all have our own struggles individually as a church. But man, like I am incredibly blessed to be at the church on that.
You are.
They walked with me. They admitted missteps in as much as I admitted missteps on my own. They paid me throughout. They even allowed me to still participate in my cohort, which included traveling for our final one to Florida. And people rallied around us. People dropped off meals. People took my wife and I out. They respected our space. They paid for me to get counseling.
Yeah.
Like they
do you know how
up.
many do you know how many pastors, more than you can imagine, listening right now, are envious?
Yeah.
Just envious, because they're still to the point where they're barely admitting their own struggle, let alone confessing it, let alone believing, because of fear, that there's going to be any level of empathy. I actually believe that most churches, I don't make up a fictitious number here, 90%, would really 100% embrace the honesty and come alongside a pastor. But we're so afraid, when the truth is, if you have a church that would not embrace and not support you, you're better off unemployed than you are to stay there, because it's going to cost you your life.
Yeah. And perhaps
at some point,
marriage, relationships, you name it.
Yeah.
And that
all
was
the above.
That was something that, as I took time away, ironically enough, Easter this year was almost was close to a year from my break. But our church does something called the Easter experience. It's an immersive walkthrough experience of different aspects of the gospel. And my wife, being the creative person that she is, participates in that each year. And last year she was helping, and she came home, she goes, "Hey," she goes, "I just want you to know I was talking with somebody who was helping there, and they were just so thankful that one of our pastors would be willing to be that vulnerable about their journey, because it gives people permission to be honest with theirs." And I remember looking at her going, I wasn't honest. I didn't even tell people. Like, I hid it. It was like our senior pastor announced it, because I didn't have the courage, the balls to do it myself, right? And she goes, "Yes, but you being willing to take time to get healthy is really good." And as I've stepped back in the ministry, I stepped back in at the end of May, on an interim basis last year through the end of summer on kind of like part-time to three-quarters time, and in September went back to full-time. The amount of people who've just said, you've given us permission to be honest with ourselves, to get help.
Yeah. See,
That,
that's what I love about your story, because authenticity, regardless if it's mental health or any
whatever.
daily battle, whatever it is contagious.
Yeah. And again, like, and I stick by my statement that I told my senior admin of, like, I don't want to be that guy. I don't, not because I don't want to admit to my own struggles, but I don't want to necessarily be the example. But what I would say is I would edit that statement to say that if my struggle, though, as much as I don't want to be the guy struggling with it, or the pastor who has the mental health struggles, if my authenticity, if my transparency can help one person, then I better freaking be that person.
Yeah.
Because if my story can help one person get the help, the healing, the counseling that they need, and prevent them from burnout, self-harm, or even suicide, then I'm okay with that. I'm not okay with where I'm at or what I struggle with, but I'm okay if it helps somebody.